Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first Technology Insights with FTB. We are just going to wait a few seconds and see if more people join. We're right at 11:02 a.m.
We're really excited to kick this off, and we think that there'll be some really great insights today on DTech with Lane. Lane will be joining us shortly, and we're just happy to be here and glad that for all those that have signed up to join us today.
I want to confirm we're live. Cool. Well, while Lane joins us, he's a president of DTech. We're going to ask him a few questions about himself, some professional stuff, and then we're going to get straight into it, which is the RSS, which takes part in the drilling space. And it's a technology that a lot of companies use for big lateral wells and obviously in the unconventional world. This series, just to get into a little bit, is we got a lot of requests from people on just in general wanting more about technology and about the energy space beyond just the personal stories. So for personal stories, career advice, life advice, that's Flipping the Barrel podcast. And we're going to continue to do that for the community because people love to hear from others and grab a source of inspiration. And then for this space on the technology talks on LinkedIn, it's going to be heavy into technology, but also in a way where you can understand it and really be able to understand more of the entire process. Because honestly, even though we all work in oil and gas, the people who are probably tuning into this, it doesn't mean that you know everything. A lot of the times, if you work in completions, you're really good at completions and you know what completions is, but that doesn't mean that you know drilling or production or wireline or slick line, coil tubing. I mean, there's so much in this space, and we kind of want to take little chunks of the industry and just bring it to life and kind of dive deep into it, break it down for really anybody to understand, pass it along to your kids if they want to, learn a little bit more about the industry. We're going to really break things down from very complicated technologies and making it a little bit more easy and user-friendly, if that makes sense.
So I think right now we're going to just see when Lane can join us. As Massiel had mentioned, this is our first live event, so we're working through the background details on how to make sure we run it smoothly and we get Lane involved and hopped on to our live event here. So we're really, like we mentioned before, this is such a cool series to be able to do. We've been doing Flipping the Barrel for over 6 years now, sharing the journeys of CEOs across the space and how they got into oil and gas industry. And more importantly, we're very focused on shining a light on the oil and gas industry and how great it is for not just the world, but for the people that work in it. So it's very exciting to be able to turn the page and start highlighting the technology that really has been changing this space in general, from not just reducing drill time, downtime on rigs, as well as performance. Performance has been an exceptional increase since Massiel and I first started in the industry. So I just think technologies like what DTech has is one of those groundbreaking things that are really changing the way that we operate today. I see that we have Lane on.
Hey, Lane. How are you?
Hey, Lane.
How are you guys?
All good this morning. How are you?
Good. Yeah, can't complain.
Awesome. Well, Lane, thank you for being here. We're just giving the community a little bit of an introduction on the technology insights, and then kind of a little bit about what you and I are going to be talking about today, which is in the drilling space, RSSs.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, can you introduce yourself to the community a little bit? Quick summary about maybe your career, how long you've been in this space, and then what you do today at DTech.
Yeah. So today at DTech, I'm the president of the company. I started with DTech about 9 years ago this year. So started when we were pretty new to the industry as a whole, just really coming out. And before that, I was with Baker Hughes in the Permian. So been doing this since I came out of college. So this is kind of, this is what I do. This is what I like to do. DTech's grown considerably in that time. And so obviously I've had the opportunity to grow with it and see it from the very startup phase to where we are today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. In terms of, before we get into the technology, who should the listeners contact if they have any questions, on the sales side? Maybe shout out some of your BDs or folks that need to ask questions to.
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. Good comment to make. Joel Gray is the VP of Western Hemisphere, so he handles everything in North and South America. He oversees the business there. In Eastern Hemisphere, it's Jim Stewart. So anything for that side of the world, you can contact Jim. And then in the U.S., we have Amanda Howard and Morgan Michael. So for us that cover the U.S. land portion and some of Canada.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
So first, we're going to get into the first question. And I wanted to start with the basics. For people who don't know what an RSS is, can you kind of break it down for us as if you were going to explain this to your teenage kid one day?
Yeah, no, well, she's only 10 now, but I still have a hard time. All they know is oil and gas. It's still a challenge, but it's basically a tool that rotates. It can steer the drill string. And so it's constantly rotating. You don't have to slide. So that's really the pro of it. And that's the reason why it's called a rotary steerable. It's a steerable system. It uses basically sensors inside the tool to understand where it is relationally to where it needs to be. And it allows for communication to surface. So whoever is running the system, or if it's a closed loop system, whatever software or firmware on the rig is actually able to send commands to it. And the tool understands which way it needs to go and what it needs to do.
Gotcha. So in terms of if you send out an RSS to a location and you're about to drill a horizontal, who needs to be there from the DTEC team? Do you have remote operations? Is it just a directional driller?
It really depends. It depends on the application. It depends on the customers. It depends on their level of there's a lot of depends, because every application and every customer is so different. For us, it really is trying to be practical. So we're not trying to impose any extra headcount or costs or anything like that on the program. But at the same time, we want to make sure we do it well and do it reliably. Honestly, today in U.S. land, most directional companies do a really good job at steering the well by themselves. They have their own remote centers. We have our remote center. So it can be a full court press where we have someone on location. We have our remote center watching and in contact with the people on location, the people in the office and their remote center. Or it could be something where it's completely remote, where they're running it all by themselves. We are just there for a phone call if they need help or they need to have a question. It really depends on what the application needs and what they need.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
In terms of the RSS, when it comes to conventional and unconventional drilling, for those people who may not be super familiar, because we've got people from all sorts of the industry, from all sorts of walks too. Tell us a little bit about when we went from conventional to unconventional wells, how the RSS kind of came to be, that technology, why is it needed? Why don't you need it for a conventional well?
Well, originally it was really about when I first got into the RSS world, it was really talking about speed. You can drill faster, your ROPs are faster, right? And then it switched to, well, actually these laterals are getting longer. And so it became a situation where it wasn't just about speed in the unconventional world and just about, accuracy in the conventional world for like holding a true vertical or those type of things. It really turned into, less torque, right? Less tortuous well bores, a lot of efficiencies that maybe in the beginning weren't missed, right? And so as you see the market continue to grow and the applications continue to grow, now you're doing 4-mile laterals, you're doing monobores, you're doing U-turns and things, right? And these are all things that in some applications, they're done very well conventionally, right? It really depends on what that end user is trying to achieve. Is it speed? Is it a smooth wellbore? Is it, it could be production life of the production equipment, right? For tortuosity and things of that nature. That was a big study that came out really in the late 2018, 2019 in there, right? It became a big talk about, your production equipment's lifespan based on tortuosity. And so it's something we were kind of looking at in this unconventional space. So I think for rotary steerable, it really has evolved depending on what the applications need. And it's continuing to evolve today. I mean, now, like I said, conventional is doing it in some of these wells really well. But then at the same time, this operator, well, yeah, but we're still sliding X% of the time. Or, we're still having trouble getting in and out of the hole or getting casing to bottom. Or, and then you have some of the major operators who even talk about, well, our rod life or whatever on the production end on the wells drilled conventionally maybe aren't as good, right? Sometimes. So it really just depends on the holistic picture of what the application is and what the customer needs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And when it comes to let's talk about the bottom portion of the downhole setup from the BHA and the bid, et cetera. Can you tell us a little bit where it really goes, what goes on top and below? And is it, can you use it with whatever bit sizes? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so the design of DTEC was always to be a practical modular design, right? It started out, we wanted to be agnostic. We wanted to be, and we still do, we want to be able to run with anything, anyone, depending on what the application needs, right? There's some customers who like this manufacturer of a bit, or this motor, or this MWD. And so we've had to build a tool that can really drop in and set into any of those phases. So for us, we run, obviously, as you can kind of see in this picture, rotary stribble runs right behind the bit. Above it can be an MWD or a motor, depending on the application and where they want to run the MWD. It can be run further back, it can be run up top. With the real-time communications now, it's getting further and further back. The MWD is starting to move further back, which is good, right, to protect as much as we can in the drill string. So it's just a situation where that really depends on the application as well, right? If you're drilling something that is a highly critical, tight window, right, you want your sensors and everything as close as you can, right? If you want something where you're really need high dog legs, well, what you're trying to do is trying to get our pistons, our push structure as close as you can to the cutting edge, right? So you might use a different bit. You might use our high dog leg tool versus our standard tool. So all of that stuff really plays into that BHA. And then you get into the other things, the agitators, the torque and stick slip mitigation tools and things like that, right? Then it really becomes that operator and that directional company and their expertise and understanding this is how you drill this area, right? For DTech, it's been interesting because we're not tied to any service companies, right? We don't have anyone who's putting this tool in the hole every day on their own because they own it. They have people who've purchased these tools now, right? And so they have it in their fleets to run, but that is very different than when you're trying to start this out and you're trying to get the runs going, right? So it really has to lean on those experts in the field. And you have some experts, some directional companies who are experts in this basin, in this application, in this formation, and they're experts. But then you might take them down the road and, well, we only have a few runs here. So it really depends on how you can get that info. And that's really where the drill bit companies, the motor companies, the MWDs, the directional as a whole, all these people and all this data can come in to help us build a BHA that is perfect for what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you. That's super well explained. And in terms of temperatures and different, hole environments, do you have different capacities? Do you have different RSSs?
For sure. Again, part of the idea is to be a modular design, right? So we tried to be very practical in how we looked at it and really how we design the tool, how we design the company. Really, when we explain things to people and to customers or whoever, we want them to say, well, why do you do it this way? And we explain it. We want them to say, oh, yeah, that makes sense, right? So practicality is really a big cornerstone of how we do things and how we operate. Part of that's the tool design, right? It's a modular design. So anything that's in this tool, depending on what the application needs, it can be changed, right? And maybe just this piece of the tool needs to be changed, not the entire tool. So now we do have the high dogleg tool, right? So it's built for high build rates. It's built for the U-turns. It's built for the curves, right? We're seeing very good success out of that. But really what that is the change to the mechanical structure, really, and to the hydraulic structure of the tool. So for us, it's a really easy change, and it's a less economic impact on our customers for the most part. There are some electronics that can be changed out as well, but everything is so modular that if we see something, or even if we see a normal, not a high temp situation, not a high dogleg situation, but just a normal 3-mile run, we want to run this out, we want to have good results, but we see a certain wear pattern or certain damage or some sort of performance inhibitor that's being, it's happening downhole with a certain component. Because the tool's modular, we can just change that one component, right? And because of our parent company being SBO, we have access to extremely good material, extremely good machine shops all around the world. So we can move very fast in this as well. So it really allows us to have an ability to look at an application, say, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? What do we expect? Part of DTech is when these tools come out from location, or when they're called to location, right? We send everybody a form. We call it our tool request form. It basically just handles everything from, hey, what are the GPMs? What are the mud weights? What are your solids do you expect? Have you seen rough solids? Have you seen high solid content? What are the temperatures that you expect? All of these things go into it for us to try to build a tool and put those components in the places they need to be successful, right? And then you multiply that with working with the service provider as well on, hey, what motors do you have? What are you going to run? What MWD are you going to run? What do you guys think based on your experience? And then we kind of tailor this so every BHA is a little bit different, or can be, based on what it needs. So that's kind of how we handle that in our view.
Gotcha. So you're very much in line with the customer from the design process, from the start, and making sure everything goes well before it goes downhole. For
sure. And then even after it goes downhole, right? I mean, our tool's recording all kinds of variables at all time. It's transmitting different variables at different data rates, at all these things we can use. And it's something that we try to respond as quickly as we can. I mean, we've got stories of within 2 days having a design change for a certain part for a customer. Obviously, it's a very good customer. 2 days, and then within 2 weeks, we've got them on the ground, right? For them to try to actually run these and do these. So that modular design based on, our capabilities, who we are and how we do business really allows us to respond to those things very quickly.
Gotcha. And in terms of your strategy or how it works, if somebody's like, I'd like to use a DTEC RSS, do you rent it out? Do you sell it only? Tell me a little bit about like your business model.
It really depends. Economically, internationally, really the sell is the only thing that really makes sense economically for us, for the service provider, and for the end user. That is the best deal, right? And that's where internationally, that's where we found the best. We're a true equipment manufacturer for these people and a technical enabler for these companies that are operating in different countries around the world. For the US and Canada, it's really more of a both model, right? We have customers who own the tools, but we have customers who rent the tools too. It really depends on what their outlook is and their theory is. Obviously, for us, the economics is the more you own the tools, the more economic return you get on the tools, and the more control you have on the tools. And those customers are who we really lean heavily on to help design things and change things and really get that evolution of the tool continuing to run, because we're looking at the data together. We're analyzing things based on what they're seeing on their tools and their data and our data, and we're making changes as it happens very quickly. So it really depends on what their goals are. But yeah, the US is kind of a both model, really. And internationally is purely a sales model for an economic reason.
Gotcha. And in terms of maintenance, is there like a special ingredient after X amount of miles drilled or X amount of hours? How does that work?
That's the secret sauce, So that's really what makes it a good tool, a great tool. And that's really what you can see the majors who have led the industry for a long time. They've been exceptionally good at it, right? And they figured it out at an early stage because they could control that, and it was all in-house, right? So it's something DTEC has taken a really hard look at the past 4 years, and it's something we have invested extremely heavily into the reliability and the quality side. Quality is something that we're continuing to invest in. It's nonstop. The reliability is the same as well. So we started, when I took over, it was a very rudimentary. It was, hey, let's do these tests. But obviously, as the tool evolves, you get more runs, you see the data, you start to understand things. And obviously, with the increase in AI and the ability to analyze data at much faster rates and see things much quicker and see variances and these anomalies in data extremely fast, what it allows us to do is look at things and make changes fast, or see a problem happening before it happens downhole, right? So every asset basically has a serial number inside of our fleet. Those main assets I told you about earlier. And what it allows us to do is track that asset. So we believe that not every hour or every foot or every meter is the same. So we're really looking at, yes, the footage, yes, the hours, all that matters, but also, how many shocks did it see? What's the temperature? What vibration? What events happened downhole? Did we have to fire jars? Did we have an MWD vent? All of these things go to a score, and we have a calculation that our reliability team builds that all of those factors go into it, and basically build a score, and it gives another score for that asset. So it might say you've been downhole for X amount of hours, but really, what that tool has seen in its life is really equivalent to Y hours, right? And so what that allows us to do is have predictive models based on those tools. So we are able to see things and say, okay, well, we know this component, this amount of hours downhole in this sort of environment, or it had a certain event happen, right? So no matter what, that event happens, that's got to have a certain level of service no matter what now. So all of those things play heavily into reliability, into making sure that you get that repeatable success downhole, and you keep the performance level at the highest possible level. So that's a big piece. And then the other side, the quality side, not just in the materials and the parts, but also the procedures and how we do things, the way we do things. All of that quality goes into making sure that you have a steady product that comes out every single time.
Super well explained. You know your stuff really well. You can tell. And you can tell you're passionate about it too.
We like what we do.
Yes. So in terms of reliability, what's been done in terms of durability, maintenance, or uptime to ensure this RSS can handle the toughest drilling conditions?
Yeah. So honestly, for us, right, when we started 9 years ago, when I started, it was pretty much Permian and Oklahoma based. And even then, you'd get into a new formation and you would go, oh man, like I remember in the Permian, I guess it was during COVID, all of a sudden we started seeing a huge uptick of customers drilling Joe Mill wells, right? And this is a formation. Well, that was the first time we had ever been in it, which was kind of a rude awakening for some of the shocks and the abrasion and the interbedded things that happen there, right? So as we do things and as we see things, or as we go to a new country and we drill in a new application, and honestly, you can have different personnel or different rig systems or different soft torque systems or different torque mitigation systems on different rigs. They all affect how things are happening, and they can all affect the wear and tear on the tools downhole. And so it's something that really for us, since the time we've started, it has been nonstop evolution. And that's something that continues today. And that's something with technology, especially a rotary steerable. If you ever freeze, you're dead, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you stop evolving, it's over. If you start looking at, it's a hard way to say this, but if you start looking more at the bottom line of, well, let's freeze the design to make sure this, obviously that's good business practice, but in what we do, and as fast as our industry is moving, especially the last 5 to 7 years, it's moved extremely fast in what we can do technically. You just fall behind, right? So it's a situation. Sorry, can you still hear me? I don't know really.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah, something happened
We
with
still
the
hear you.
camera here. I'll try to flip it back on. But basically, it allows us to, continue to evolve and see those things as fast as we can and make those small tweaks. And because, like I said, the tool's modular design, who our parent company is and who some of our partners are, it really allows us to move very fast as soon as we see those issues.
Oh, we lost Lane. Well, while we wait for him to come back, if you guys wanted to ask some questions, I've seen just one and a comment, but whenever he gets back, we'd love to have you guys ask some questions and see if Lane can answer you guys. Let me see.
Is that better? Can you see me again?
We can still hear you. We just can't see you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It says it's running on my side, so gotta love it.
Okay, I think there we go. I think it was probably just Wi-Fi connection. Awesome.
Oh.
Well, I just asked the audience if they wanted to write some questions down. We'll see if we can grab some from directly from LinkedIn. If not, I did have a question on, you guys are smallish compared to the rest of the RSS market companies that are out there. You've been in business a little under 10 years, correct? Really like going to market.
Commercial, for sure. Yeah.
You're like David and Goliath in a way. But what I love about it is your guys' focus on customer service and not losing clients' needs, which, when you get into a bigger company, like that's the first thing that's lost is like that customer relationship. And tell us a little bit about the pros of working with a small company like yourselves that is still delivering high quality technology, just as great as the big guys, but with a different touch when it comes to
it's what makes us special. It really is what makes us different. It's something that I really find a lot of positives in. It's something that we all revel in working at DTEC. In fact, when I hire a lot of people who are external, outward facing personnel, our sales, our operations teams, we are the underdog, and you have to enjoy that, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, one day we hope we won't be, and we're catching up. We believe we are. But it's a situation where it makes it challenging because the industry is set in such a way that this is the way it should be done, and this is why, right? So as you do anything that's different or you operate differently, it takes people a while. So for us, it's really about having a personal connection with our customers, which is why I log the airline miles, and I try to see people, and all of our senior personnel try to see people as well. And we try to get out to the rigs, to the customers where it's really happening and understand. We'll meet with the CEO as much as I'll meet with the directional coordinator to hear their thoughts. And it is something that for us at the end of the day, it's about getting tools downhole with our customers and making sure they're doing a good job. And the only way that happens, because I don't have a directional company just selling every day for the tool, right? We have to earn it. So we have to do good performance, and we have to make sure that not only is the performance good, but they can economically see a return on their investment in DTEC. And so it really is a balancing act of us trying to build that relationship, making sure performance is where it needs to be. Technically, we're catching up, right? We're doing the things that need to be done that the industry demands. And at the same time, making sure that our customers can make money, because that's at the end of the day, right? They've got to be able, this can't just be a market share holder for them, right? To be able to hold their rigs, they've got to be able to use it to actually see a return. And the same thing for the end users, for the actual operators. Their investment in running the tools, they need to be able to see a return on the performance as well. So it's really a holistic view that we try to take personally for us. And it's a thing where we enter a new country and it's been dominated by a major here or there. And there's nothing I enjoy more than showing up and being told it can't be done and saying, give us a chance, right? So it's something we enjoy.
I love that. I love the underdog story.
It
So,
is.
and that you guys wear it proudly. But having met a lot of your team, you can tell that just wanting to serve the customer and the needs, and even with your partners on the DD side, and just really making sure everybody is working together to make sure everything goes well downhole.
Exactly. That's the goal, right? That's the end of it. And if that doesn't happen, nothing else matters. So we try to start there and work our way back rather than start in the back of our shop and then tell people what they need. We try to go to them and say, hey, what do you need? What can we do to be helpful? And then we work backwards from there.
Love it. Love it. So we have some questions from LinkedIn. So let's see if you're able to take some of these. So Salar Mashi says, what is the longest a tool has ran for? So,
Downhole?
Yes.
So we've had tools functioning downhole for over 400 hours downhole. These are obviously situations where there's well control issues. There's all kinds of things happening where we can't get out of the hole because of a well control issue or something like that. These were in Latin America, if I remember correctly. We've had multiple runs. Now, obviously, the tool's not drilling that whole time. They've got a lot of other things going on. But the tool came out of the hole, was recording the whole time. We got good data throughout the whole thing that honestly helped us see how LCM affects the tool and all these different things. So a lot of positives there. On usual runs, like in the US, right? If you're in the hole more than 100 hours, people start asking questions. Why are you so slow? But then, you go to other places and 100 hours, you're not going to last. We need 250. So it really depends on the application. So it depends. So we've tried to build a tool that can do both without having a huge swing in what you need for the tool, but a good universal tool that can be run in most of the applications that the oil and gas market and even the geothermal market today that we're operating in, that it needs today.
Gotcha. So there's another question from Jamie Elrod, and he says, how many countries are you currently operating in, and what is the driver behind the attraction to international?
Yeah, so the international side is really just interesting because it's an opportunity, especially being the underdog, right? There's a lot of places in the world where customers such as independent service companies have been blocked out of certain contracts just because they don't have access to technology. Our goal is to make sure they have access to the technology that they need so they can go compete for those contracts that are in their home country and give it to a local opportunity, right? So that's the international appeal there. We like doing that. It's also a situation where those customers are very involved in the development of technology for that application specifically. They know what they need. They know where they need to go. And they're very helpful in helping us understand that local market and understand what the tools and the technology needs that we can go redesign and then share that knowledge across the whole fleet and globally. Country-wise, we've drilled in 19 countries now, ongoing operations in most. Got some really high-profile trials that are happening in the Middle East now, so we're hoping to add a couple more in there as well by the end of the year and get approvals. So yeah, it really depends on how you see that, but yeah, almost 20 countries now, so we're very proud of that.
Awesome. Next question from David Gavia. He says, what have been the benefits of having more torque mitigation and agitator tools in the system? Are there any challenges that we have to be considered as well?
Yeah. So obviously there's pressure limitations for our tool that you have to watch. Right now, our tool pressure situation can be changed and can be mitigated depending on what we need to run. If we need to run multiple agitators, we don't always need to. It's very rare that we're running multiples now. The torque and stick slip mitigation tools and those things can be very helpful if they're done correctly. It's a situation where it's a learning curve. Every time you go into a new rig, like you might be running a stick slip tool that is fantastic in another application, but then this rig also has a top drive system that now mitigates it as well. So you can actually have two things that are trying to do a positive, but actually end up making a negative occur right downhole. You actually see it looks really pretty at surface, but downhole you can see that. So all those things have to be taken into consideration depending on the application. It's really not a silver bullet. I tell customers that constantly. We teach our sales team to tell this is rotary steerable is not a silver bullet, it's a magnifying glass. Mm-hmm. So whatever inconsistencies or whatever problems you have in your system, we're going to see it pretty quickly, and we'll need to mitigate it to find success and do this long term, right? But just because you pick up a rotary steerable, right, doesn't magically make things go away, except maybe torque. Maybe if you're sliding 70-80% of the time, right, your ROP is going to increase. But those are the things that all of those other BHA components, agitators, stick slip tools, all of that stuff, right? It has a place and it can be very, very productive for the end goal. It just has to be done correctly. And honestly, it takes the team holistically to ensure that we all see that and we don't think that, oh, well, I've got this in the hole, I'm fine now. That's not always the case. So yeah, it can be very beneficial, just depends on the application.
Gotcha. Jamie's asking, what is your turnaround time? I guess if somebody asked for an RSS today,
Yeah.
What does the time frame look like? And then also, what is the process on DTech that usually works with the customer? So it's like, hey, let's go have a meeting. Let's go over the well information. Like, run us through somebody who's looking at getting one.
Yeah. So for us, for the turnaround time, it really depends on the tool and the service level. Because of the modularity of the tools, most of the tools can be turned in anywhere between 8 and 10 hours, right? This is 2 guys doing it, 2 guys or gals doing it in our shop. We can do that, right? We teach customers to do the same by having assets ready on the shelf, ready to go. So it's almost like a pit stop in a race, right? They pull in, the tool comes in, certain things come out, new ones go on, it's ready to go back out the door with certain assets. So it really depends on what's happened in that tool's life, depending on that. But usually somewhere between 8 to 10 hours, it can be turned. The other thing is the tools can be air freighted anywhere in the world. So it's a huge advantage for us to be able to put these tools on an offshore skid and send 2 of them across the ocean in a notice, right? So we can have tools almost anywhere in the world within 7 to 10 days. The real issue there is the customs. If you understand the customs importing and exporting of those things, it's really not that challenging other than the cost of importing, which is also another reason why the purchase internationally is a big deal, because those importing and exporting costs can get pretty costly. And that's not good for us or the customer. So we try to look at those things. But again, in a pinch, those tools can be deployed anywhere in the world, which is a huge advantage for us to just deploy the tools. But one, if something is to occur, to get the tools home and understand what's happening and try to get an answer and try to learn. Our goal is that, in U.S. land, we can have tools completely diagnosed sometimes before they get onto the next well on the pad, if they're batch drilling, right? We can have, hey, here's what caused it. Here's what we're seeing. We need to mitigate this. And okay, now this is behind us now, which is also pushing that reliability upwards as well. So that's really the holistic view of us on how it works. If you want a tool, right, it depends on where you are, who you're contacting. It can go through the directional company, right? We prefer that sometimes because that way we're all on the same page and building a plan to execute, because the tool is only part of the pie, right? It's got to take somebody steering it. It's got to take a team getting the BHA together and getting all those good components, good BHA components in. So it really takes the village to really make it successful. So it can go either way. Operators can call it out directly. Directional companies can call it out, right? Directional companies, some of them own them in U.S. land and Canada as well. And then obviously South America, we have customers who own their own fleets as well of tools, and same thing in the Middle East. So it's an opportunity that there's a lot of different ways to get access to the tools depending on where you are located.
Gotcha. And let's say, how does the training work? Is there a specific minimum requirement of training from DTech with the DDs, or how does that work?
To actually run the tool, no. In fact, most DDs nowadays, have pretty good experience with rotary steerables, and they at least understand what it is and the different mindset than drilling conventionally, because it is a bit different. But for the most part, with the remote support and the support we can offer on hand, it really doesn't take too long for them to get it down. Really, we say a well to 2 wells, and usually most DDs have a really good handle on it. Some before that, some they can call out our tool and they have no issues, right? We can support them remotely. That's on the actual operational side downhole. For people who own our tools, we teach them how to do the maintenance themselves, right? So we teach them how to do different levels of maintenance based on what they qualify on through our quality department. They audit them. They see, okay, they're capable of this. They have good practices in this tool out, because at the end of the day, I don't want them to have failures, but at the same time, I don't want DTech to have a black eye in a country because of a silly mistake or something, right? So we have those different things that happen in different countries. And so that training takes a little bit longer. We usually ask their technicians to come to Houston or to Bristol, where the engineering and manufacturing facility is, and train for a week with our personnel and building different components based on the level of service they're allowed to do. And then for the first few, we actually send one of our technicians into the country to supervise and be there to help ask questions and be on site to help them. And then we've even had situations where they've called, in the middle of the night, hey, we're trying to get this tool together. We're missing something. Can you help us? Yeah, put us on FaceTime, put us on Teams. And we have our supervisor jump on and try to help talk them through whatever they're seeing and whatever challenges they're facing. So there's a lot of different training, regimes based on the level of service they're doing in those facilities.
Gotcha. No, that's super well done. There have been some questions on just lessons learned, I guess, and on some failure modes. So
Yeah.
he says, are there any known failure modes that have historically impacted the reliability of this RSS? If so, could you please elaborate on the primary causes that maybe you guys have found and the measures that your team have taken to mitigate this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been lots, right? Depending on, you go into a new application that's extremely abrasive, you start wearing out stabilizers, you start wearing out pistons, you start doing these things, right? So these are things that you've had to come in and we've had to upgrade these components, right? So you have different TSP and diamond inserts into them. You have different shapes, different manufacturing styles, different materials that you're using. Electronic wise, it's how electronics are mounted, right? What components we're using, what quality of components we're using, and how we basically take care of those components throughout their life cycle, right? All of those things have gone into failures. Everything that DTech is today has been built off of a failure that's happened down the road somewhere. And that's the case with every tool on the market. The difference again with DTech is that ours happened out in front, which means that relationship style that you talked about, Massiel, earlier, is we have to be. We share our data with anybody who wants to see it. Here's what happened if you ran the tool. Here's what occurred. Here's what good or bad occurred. And here's what we're doing to address it. And that's that relationship we've tried to build with our customers to ensure that we continue to get the opportunities. They know what we're doing, as well as we get the data and get their input on the data to know what changes we need to make to the tool. So a lot of that's all occurred. I mean, how we mount those components is a big deal, how we manage them, the kinds of components, all the different things from the actual reliability side to even the performance side of making the tool easier to run, making the tool faster to run, making it more of a dream for DDs to like, okay, this is an easy tool to run. All of those things come into it over time of lessons learned in the field.
I think it's wonderful. And I think also just bringing in the customer along the investigation and being transparent with the data and what happened, that's really how you build a relationship. And everybody who's ever put a tool down hole has had failures. And it's just kind of how you react to it, how you're proactive about it, and how you actually come up with something better to fix it and mitigate it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, well, we have 5-ish minutes left.
Yeah.
It's 11:45 is a cutoff. And really what I wanted people to leave with, because we went deep into technology and RSSs, is more of the story, I would say, of DTech and kind of how it came to be. Maybe bring us back to the initial stages of DTech and why I decided to start, let's be the underdog. Let's look at this technology. Let's grow it. And then also, can you tell us a little bit about, obviously, your the other brands that are all part of your guys' company, and just a lot of people sometimes have no idea that you guys are tied to Wellboss or Bikeco. So I think letting everybody know would be great. Yeah,
no, for sure. So for us, I mean, we're owned by SBO out of Austria. So SBO has their energy equipment division, which is DTech, Bikeco, DSI, and Wellboss. So a lot of opportunities to cover a lot of needs there for different oil field and geothermal type equipment. And then on the other side is the precision technology group, which is the materials group, the machining group, 3D printing. They do all kinds of wild, really neat things that really pushing that edge forward. And they're a big asset to us. And for the DTech story, really, there's a lot of independent tools out there. There really are. If you look at the market and the research from, I don't know if it's Kimberlite or Spears or somebody put something out here recently, can't remember where it was, but it says there's like 25 rotary steerables that are commercial on the market. And you're like, wow, but then you look at those 25, say, well, how many have done this and how many have done that? And there's really only 5 or 6, really, right? And so the difference really comes into seeing that technology through. It's a long road to get to where we are today. It's been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of evolution, a lot of these things. I mean, there's a lot of good designs out there. There's a lot of good ideas, but bringing those into fruition to make them a full commercial tool takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, right? And it takes a team that's really dedicated. And that's something I can say from SBO being our parent company and really putting that dedication and support behind us to get to where we are today, as well as the team itself inside of DTech. A lot of our personnel have been here from the very beginning. I think I was the 8th or 9th employee that came on. We still have some employees that were the 5, 6, 7, 8 right before me, right? So it's really cool that we've stayed together, and a lot of people are very passionate about this. And that story of how DTech has developed really started with a really good idea, really good solid design to start, and basically has evolved with the industry and with the demands over time. So and again, that doesn't happen without, like you said, the support of our sister companies and our parent company, and our customers. I mean, the customer's having a desire to have something different, right? And that's not lost on us either, that means all these other tools are out there as well. So we really try to focus on running our own race and seeing what the customers and what the market's telling us and not focus on around us so much. And that's what's made us special, of growing from, an idea and a tool that, yeah, okay, we're going to sell some tools in US land and that's where we're going to be, to really seeing what we can do and help around the world to help all these different people, take their companies to another level and do something different that they thought was even possible. So for us, that's really our goal. And then the vision to continue is to continue to evolve. We've got a very robust technology roadmap, a lot of things coming. I think DTech traditionally has always been put into a box of it's this kind of tool. I will say I can't wait to a few more months for what's going to come there, and then more beyond that. We have a very, very smart, very engaged engineering team in the UK, and some of them here in the US now as well, that are laser focused on getting to that top tier quality and top tier performance. And that's where we're going. So, and we've got the support to do it from our customers and our parent company, sister companies, and people like you guys who help us tell the story. So we're very excited to get there and appreciate the opportunity.
Well, Lane, thank you so much. This has been wonderful for our very first Tech Talk. I think people really will walk away with some knowledge on the RSS space and just on the drilling side. But I think what I love the most is just the story of the people behind DTech and just everything you guys are doing in the market and being the underdog. Like, I just love that, because you've got a great technology and you're just competing at this point on customer service, on being there, on reliability, on making sure you do things right when things go wrong. Because I think that's the most important thing, I think, for a customer, is just making sure that that partner that you're choosing to buy from is going to be there for the long term and to continue to evolve.
Yeah, doing the right thing, no matter what the market's doing, and doing the right thing for it's fair, right, for us and for our customers. That's the goal, right? We want it to be fair for them and fair for us. And if it is, then we're there for that. So it's been a great time, great first one. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me with any of the questions we couldn't get to. I see them popping up, but there's just tons of them. So just let me know directly if you have any additional questions.
Perfect. Yes. And we'll put Joel's and Morgan's and a few of the other people you mentioned on the comments afterwards if they want to reach out. So Lane, I'm excited to see what DTech has brewing in the next few months. It seems like something really exciting. So maybe we'll come back on in a few months and
that'd be great. We'd love to do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everybody who's tuned in around the globe to watch this. This will be recorded and we will be publishing it for a lot of people who couldn't make it on the time. So yes, thank you so much. See you soon. Lane, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.